Yeah, in particular, the woman over my shoulder there, because I actually, I was watching this A League Women's Grand Final. It was a guarantee, it was same as the Kiwi NRL stuff, a guaranteed victory because you had Claudia Bunge on one team for Melbourne Victory, you had Paige Satchell, and soon to be minted New Zealand eligible fullback Ellie Green as well, playing for Sydney FC. So like fascinating game because it was Sydney FC coming into this as the form team throughout the whole season. Melbourne Victory coming into this as a team that sort of like ground away good wins, like defending champions. They're a strong team, but a lot of defensive problems early on, which was really held together by Claudia Bunge for the first month or two of the season. Kayla Morrison, their captain, and like outstanding sort of American centre back, but American probably eligible for Australia at this point. Like she's been there for ages, and I think she probably wants to play for Australia. She went down with like an ACL, and I think the first game of the season, and then they were struggling just to find someone else who could fill in. They ended up bringing in another American, I think it was Brooke Hendricks, who filled out the centre back role next to Claudia Bunge the rest of the way, but they still struggled to get into the finals. Like they had to get something off Canberra in the final week of the season, and they only, I think it was only a 0-0 draw, but a 0-0 draw was enough to get them into the semis, where they then beat Adelaide, then week after that beat Melbourne City, and then week after that beat Sydney FC in the grand final. So it's one of those ones where like Sydney FC were the best team from pillar to post, like overall strongest team throughout the season. But Melbourne Victory timed their run and peaked at the finals time. They only just scraped into the finals, but they peaked at the exact right time. 3 great wins in a row against 3 very good teams. And now they're the champions, which means that they're back-to-back champions, which means that Claudia Bunge has won 2 championships in 2 A-League seasons. Hence the championship pukana over my shoulder there, and I thought she was excellent again in the grand final here. And like, just one of those players who maybe I don't think gets enough credit from like the Aussie media for what she's done. I think everyone is looking at her and saying like she's playing, every week for 2-time defending champion. She's a good player, but just like the impact she had on that game was like, I mean, I remember watching her in the most recent Football Ferns thing and feeling for the first time like this wasn't just a thing, like wasn't just like an idea, but an actual like whatever comes next between idea and fact, like whatever because I can't say it's a fact because it's still an opinion, but whatever the strongest form of opinion is, I'm like, Claudia Bunge has serious Abby Erse qualities about the way that she plays. And in this final was just how many times you heard someone say something along the lines of, shot blocked by Bunge, or, cross cleared by Bunge. Like the amount of defensive impact she had on that game was huge, and an excellent performance. 2-time champion of the A-League. Big shout outs to Claudia Bunge. But as I say, it could have gone either way because like Paige Satchell came on and Ellie Green, actually Paige Satchell subbed on for Ellie Green with about 5 minutes to go. So couple New Zealand, one like fully formed football fern and one soon to be football fern by the sounds of it. So we're going to get a champion either way. In fact, we knew that as soon as Victory beat Adelaide in week 1 of the finals, because if it wasn't one of these 2 teams, Melbourne City were the last team standing beyond them, and they've got 3 New Zealanders in their squad. So great indication there of why you add in the Wellington Phoenix and all the players they brought to the table as well, why this was just like probably, the most successful Kiwis in the A-League women's season, however that sentence should be framed to make it make sense. The best season we've seen in terms of Kiwis in this competition, like by far, and it would have been even without the Wellington Phoenix as well, which just goes to show like the growth, and considering what a great and proven stepping stone league the A-League women's is. Wouldn't be surprised to see several of the players who featured this year using this as like a launch pad into really good professional deals, probably in Europe in particular. I think England's been the Women's Super League in England has been a league that has made a habit of signing players out of this competition as much as anyone. But, the American stuff has also had a good, cozy relationship with the Aussie League before Scandinavian stuff as well. So I'm hoping for some big signings in the coming weeks as well, on the back of what was already a great season, highlighted by Claudia Bunge's championship excellence once again.
Can you rattle off like the three best Kiwi wahine in the A-League Women's? I imagine Claudia Bunge is numero tahi, the top spot. Big Donny, Claudia Bunge. Who do you have as the next best Kiwis in the Women's A-League?
That's I mean, 1 and 2 are really easy, whatever order you want to do. I might even have Bunge second and Hannah Wilkinson number 1 after scoring 14 goals in 14 games. Didn't quite get the golden boot, but that's because it's a regular season thing. She missed out by 1 and then went and scored a double the next week in the finals. So in terms of the overall season, she scored the most goals, more goals than anyone else, without winning the golden boot. But that combined with like playing almost every minute she was available for, looking super fit, playing in a team style that probably is closer to the way that they want to use her for the football ferns as well, like a bit more mobile, a bit more pressing, dropping in and linking up more often rather than just the way she has been used in the past for the football ferns of just like, Hannah Wilkinson's tall, let's kick the ball long to her and not have to worry about any of this build-up play kind of thing. Like they're more ambitious than that now, they're better than that. And I think it suits Hannah Wilkinson actually better to play that way as well. And that's right, all the proof in the pudding there is the 14 goals in 14 games she just scored for Melbourne City. So I think those two are easy to say, Wilkinson and Bunge. After that, I mean, could go with like a Rebecca Stott, who's brought up her 100th A-League appearance, coming back from cancer and playing almost every game for Melbourne City. Maybe not quite the impact she's had in previous years, but also she was playing in a different position. Like she was playing in the midfield and often, like a couple of times, she was even playing further forward than that, as like an attacking midfielder. But I mean, Liz Anton, excellent for Perth Glory. There's several Phoenix candidates you could chuck up in there, like a Kate Taylor, a Chloe Knott, Mackenzie Barry, Lily Oldfeld. Ava Pritchard, sure, but Alyssa Wynnum as well, and might nudge with might go with Grace Jale, I think, as number 3 though. Just so I'll pick a Phoenix player to keep it like festive. I think Grace Jale, who remember was injured for a lot of the first month or so of the season when the Phoenix was still finding their feet, and when she came back into, like, she had a couple weeks, she only missed 1 or 2 games, but there was, games where she was coming off the bench and being built up or subbed off early, like sort of building up her minutes. Once she got to like that 90 minutes per week capacity, kind of when the Phoenix started scoring goals and then like threatening to win games, and then eventually were winning games. And some of her goals were essential in the wins that they did get, and gave them a different sort of different elements of their play as someone who could hold the ball up alongside a lot of quick and skillful players looking to get in behind. There's someone who can actually like go toe to toe with a defender, strike them off, but who was also fast enough to play on the counter attack and like great athlete, tall enough to be a threat in the air on crosses and stuff like that. And I thought she had an excellent season, and I think she scored 6 goals in the end, which for a team that finished last is pretty outstanding. And the reason they were still in with a chance of not finishing last going into the final week of the season, a lot of that was down to the work of Grace Jale and the options that she gave that team. She's the only player in that squad, that inaugural Phoenix squad, who had played international football before. I don't think it'll be too long before she's back into a football fern squad either. In fact, it might even be this week. Who knows? Because they've got a squad to play Australia coming up. Should be named in the next couple of days, actually. So I'll be writing about that before the week is out. And very curious to see which Phoenix players might be in there, or if there will be any. I don't know. I will see, because the Phoenix players are sort of coming in at the bottom of the player eligibility, right? They're not just signing existing football ferns and whatever. They're signing young players to push them up to expand the overall playing pool. So making the Phoenix doesn't mean you go into the national team, but a couple of the top players for the Phoenix probably would be in contention, especially someone like Jale. I think Lily Alfeld as a goalkeeper might be 4th choice, but we'll see. Alyssa Wynnum, just because she offers something different. Players like that, it would be curious to see how that squad looks, because it's the first time really where the A-League players have been fully available. It's been a little bit tricky with, even when they have been available, it's still been travel considerations and the middle of their season to consider and things like that, whereas that's not the case now. So we'll see how that looks. We'll see if Grace Jale sneaks into that team.
You didn't mention Paige Satchell in your little list there. Would she rank? Is she more like a role player in a good team?
Yeah, she's a sort of an impact sub. She played most games for Sydney, but only got about 500 combined minutes, which is, less than half of what someone like Hannah Wilkinson got. So,
yeah, that's cool.
But she scored the goal that clinched the Premier's plate as well. They won 1-0 in the last week of the season, beat Adelaide, in which they had to do in order to finish ahead of Melbourne City. And Paige Satchell was the one who scored the goal. So massive goal. And also, I think, without having a major role for Sydney FC, she has developed heaps during her time there, and also with Canberra United last season. I think just since the 2 years that she spent in the A-League, you see her game so much more refined, and the evidence of that hasn't as much been with Sydney FC as it was on the last Football Ferns tour. We saw her starting, I think all three games, and really offering something different. Like, he's a speedy winger who can get in around a defender and get a ball into the box, and improving in that side of things as well. So I think that's more where we have seen that refinement in her game is with the Ferns, and that's fantastic, because that's something that they really, really, really need as they go searching for creativity,